Welcome to this holistic yoga, gentle yoga and somatics class. So today we're going to be looking at spirit lifting somatics to lift your spirit and your mood. And we're going to start by lying down on your back, and your choice whether you want to have bent legs or straight legs or have your legs over a bolster, just your choice of what feels most comfortable for you right now. And actually this time, rather than checking your symmetry, just lie down where you are and feel. Feel how your body is. Feel the different physical sensations that you might become aware of in your body. You may become aware of tightness or stuckness or dullness or stiffness or a feeling of feeling okay. Just be aware of the parts of the body that feel good, as well as becoming aware of the parts of the body that might feel tighter or achy or uncomfortable. And just noticing how the body connects with the floor, and how as you rest and relax, the body can let go of any tension, unnecessary tension. And this is a process that will continue and continue and continue throughout the class and throughout your practice in your life. Okay, so let's come to bringing our arms down by our sides, palms facing down and your knees bent, feet a bit further forwards than your knees, quite a bit further forwards than your knees, and hip width apart. We're going to do arch and flatten, but with the arms reaching up behind us as we arch and coming back down by the sides as we flatten. It's also called flower pose. So it's a good idea to think about your center as you do this place behind and below your belly button, from which you connect to the ground through your legs and your feet, and through which you connect to your hands, through your whole spine and your shoulder blades and your arms. So have that awareness of your center, so behind and below the belly button, right in the center of the body. So it's not near the front or the back, it's right in the center, behind and below the navel. So inhaling now and reaching the arms up and back as you arch your back away from the floor, and exhaling and taking your arms back down again. And as you do, you're flattening your back onto the floor. And keep going like that. Feel how the breath is filling up from the base up into the top of the chest, and emptying out from the top of the chest all the way down to the base. So you're automatically drawn into taking these full yogic breaths. Inhaling, reaching the arms up, feeling the breath go from the bottom to the top, and exhaling, emptying out from the top chest, the sides of the lower ribs, and then the belly. And continuing like this, and this time start to think about the palms of the hands a little bit more. Stretch the fingers wide, activate the muscles in the palms of the hands, and feel you're purposefully moving the arms through the air. Let there be spaces in between your fingers so that you can feel the air going through your fingers. Really feel the strength in the arms and that originating strength in your upper chest and your upper back. And whilst you're focusing on your arms, don't forget about the pelvis tilting. As you're inhaling, the pelvis is tilting forwards towards the tailbone. And as you exhale, and you can take this in your own breath, in your own time, you're pressing down through the feet to elongate the back of the spine. Keep going like that. And noticing, actually, if we're thinking of the neck, The neck elongates as the spine engages, as the lower back contracts. And the back of the neck contracts as the lower back lengthens. So noticing that relationship. Okay, next time you bring your arms down to your sides, turn them to face upwards and feel your breath again. Notice your breath again, how the breath moves into your belly, your side ribs, your upper chest. And do remember that if you would like to pay more attention to your breath, if you'd like to work with your breath more, you can always do the accompanying relaxation practice. It will help to free your breath. So now taking your hands underneath your head, interlacing the fingers, and you may like to have a folded blanket or cushions underneath your arms if your range of motion is a little bit less in your shoulders. So we're inhaling, pressing the arms either into the floor or into the cushions, and this is with your interlaced fingers behind your head. And then elbows in to shoulder width and lifting the head as you exhale for arch and curl. Pressing into the feet, scooping in the belly. Lower the head down. And then inhaling, reaching those elbows out and pressing the backs of the arms either into the floor or into a blanket under each arm. And then elbows in. And exhale, lift, scooping the belly, relaxing the neck, lifting the head as if it's not your head. So don't use the neck. Inhale, reach out, press the backs of the arms. And then coming in, elbow width. And then lifting your head as you exhale. Keeping the breath held out as you lower down. And it's only once you've landed the head, that's when you reach the elbows out and press the backs of the hands into the floor if it's comfortable. And just feel there's that pandiculation, that really strong movement in your back. And as you lift your head, there's a strong contraction of the abdominal muscles deep inside. Continue doing a few more, feeling the contraction in your back as you inhale. And exhaling, lifting the head and feeling those deep abdominals. Try to keep them long and strong rather than curling up too much. Good work. Okay, next time you lower your head, take the arms out, the hands out from underneath your head. And take the arms down by your sides. And we're actually going to come to standing. So reach one arm up behind you. Roll over onto that side so your head rests on the upper arm. And knees are bent in line with your hips. And then you're pushing up with the top hand to come up to all fours. Stepping your strongest leg forwards. And then pressing down through that thigh. Coming up to standing. Okay, so we're going to do a small bit of qigong, just a little bit. So if you take your feet a little bit wider, so about shoulder width apart, feel those 3 points of contact in each foot and the balance between them. Inner ball, outer ball, heel. Outer edges of the feet kind of straight forwards, but if that feels uncomfortable for your knees, you can have your toes coming out. A little bend in your knees and take the backs of your hands and smooth them down your back just to feel the kidneys relaxing outwards back into your hands and feel the abdominal muscles engaging so that there's this power in your center behind and below your navel. Okay, so we're going to make a loose fist with the right hand and tap right in the center of the chest, just below the collarbones on the flat part of your chest. And here's your thymus. So just thumping there. This can help to strengthen your immunity. Good, good, good. And then we're going to go all the way over below the collarbones, thumping as you go to the outer edge of the collarbones, just below the outer edge of the collarbones, and you'll find that lung 1 point here. And then we're going to follow the lung meridian all the way down through the inner arm, down through the inner elbow, keep thumping, down through the inner wrist, into the center of the palm, and you're kind of knocking into the center of the palm. That's called a spirit point. You can bend your elbow as you knock into that palm. Good, and then taking the back of the hand, and we're following the paired meridian, which is the large intestine meridian, going to the back of the hand, back of the wrist, back of the elbow, back of the forearm, back of the elbow, back of the upper arm, and then back behind the shoulder, and then you can kind of squeeze your shoulder, kind of give your shoulder a squeeze, give the side of your neck a squeeze, and just release those tissues there in the upper trapezius. They can get very tight. Kind of do a little massage behind the shoulder. That's where the meridian passes through, just with the top of the shoulder blade there. Good, good, good. And it goes up into the side of the neck, so you could squeeze and massage and knead into the side of the shoulder, side of the neck. Good, and then release the arm down and feel how that arm feels now. And then taking your other hand and thumping your meridian, your center of your chest. Going to do the other lung meridian. So thumping here into the thymus gland, right in the center of the chest, on the bony bit, on the sternum. And then thumping all the way along through, just below the collarbone, all the way out to the side of the collarbone, just below the edge of the collarbone, right out to the side. And then following over onto the inner arm, inner upper arm, going down, inner elbow, inner forearm, inner wrist, and then the palm, inner palm, the center of the palm. Knocking into there and feeling, you might feel tingling in there, you might feel your energy that radiates from the palms of our hands. It's not just healers that have that radiating energy in the palms of the hands, we all do. And then taking the back of the hand and you're slapping, so you're more cupping your hand, you're not thumping with your fists anymore. There's using the palm of your hand going up onto the wrists, back of the forearm, the elbow, back of the upper arm, the shoulder, back of the shoulder, upper back, and then squeezing and massaging and kneading into there, into the back of the shoulder, upper trapezius, maybe a little bit if it feels nice, just rubbing the side of the neck. And just giving that a little bit of a massage into that shoulder. So 2 very important meridians to take care of at this time. The lung meridian is related to grief, and the large intestine meridian is related to worry. So by working with these meridians, we can help to balance our energies and our emotions. Okay, and then taking that arm down, and then keeping your feet hip width apart, we're going to do a little bit of a clearing. So taking your hands in front of your lower belly, just in front of your pubic bone, and having the palms facing up, and it's like you're carrying a ball. Feel the ball in your hands, feel the energy in your hands. Good, and then turn the palms to face outwards and sweep the arms up in the air to your sides, reaching up over your head in a big circle until the palms are facing the crown of your head, just before the crown of your head, and then exhale, taking the arms down in front of you, and you're feeling as if you're pushing a ball down through water. Good, so we're going to do that 3 more times. Inhaling, turning the palms to face upwards, outwards, sweeping up in a circle, out to the sides, and then above your head, palms facing down. And bringing the arms down, the hands down in front of your body, feeling like you're pushing down an imaginary ball through water. And then 1 more time. Arms out to the sides, palms facing up, sweeping up to the sides. You can feel as if you're pushing the ball up through water. And then the palms come to face your head like sunshine beaming down on your crown of your head. And then you're bringing those hands down through the front of the body. As if you're pushing that ball down through water. And then lastly, put one hand on top of the other onto your dantian. Just behind and below your belly button is your dantian. So if you place your hands just below your navel or even on your navel, then you can feel the energy of this point. Just resting here, feeling your feet, remembering that the back of your waist is long, back of the neck is long, feet firmly grounded and balanced. Feel the energy of the ground and the energy of the sky above you. Good work. Okay, we're going to do one more standing, a little bit of gentle yoga, taking your feet wide, just as wide as feels nice for you, facing the long side of the mat if you're on a mat. And spinning out onto you're spinning on your right heel and turning your right heel out and bending your right knee. The left toes might come in a little bit, and adjust your legs and your feet so you feel perfectly comfortable and grounded and able to feel the inner ball of your both feet, outer ball of both feet, and heels of both feet. Breathing there. Okay, so your pelvis is slightly twisted to the right, but your rib cage is going to be facing the front of the mat, the long side of the mat. Inhale, reach your arms up through your center. So you bring your palms together and reach up through the center in a prayer position. It's like you're drawing a thread through the center of your body, opening and reaching. And then open the arms out to the sides, palms facing up. They're about the height of your shoulders. You can bend your elbows a little and allow your shoulder blades to slide down your back. Feel the feet. If your knee is rolling in on the right side, you can turn your pelvis a little bit to the right to help your inner thigh release a bit more, so your knee can stay aligned to your second, third toe. Good work. And then turning your left palm to face downwards, slide that left palm a little way down to the back of the thigh, back of the hip, and then reach the right arm up. Spread the fingers and thumbs, open across the collarbones, draw up through the pelvic floor. There's no need to make a big back bend. You're just comfortably reaching up through the spine and breathing there. Good work. And then exhale, take that arm down. Inhaling, straightening the leg, bringing the toes to point forwards. And then spinning on the left heel, bending the left knee. And again, you might adjust the back foot so it's turned in a bit, so it's in line with the back knee. And make sure that that left knee is directly over the left ankle and the knee is pointing to second, third toe. So you might turn the pelvis a little bit towards the left and then turn the rib cage towards the front edge of your mat. Bring your hands in prayer position down by your pubic bone, and then drawing up through the center of the body, you can turn the fingers to point upwards and reach all the way up, and then opening out to the sides. You can imagine for a moment that your arms are kind of supported below as if they were floating on the surface of a lake. Let your shoulder blades slide down your back, bend your elbows a little bit, draw the lower belly in, relax that lower back and the kidney area. And then take the right palm to face down, slide it down your leg or the back of your thigh, hip, And then reach the left arm up. Spread the fingers and the thumbs. Reach up in a comfortable way. Feel the decompressing in your spine. Feel there's this lift from your pelvic floor all the way up. And lengthening. Good work. And then exhale, take that arm down. And inhale, straighten up and take the toes to point forwards. Okay, so coming down to lying on your left side, and you'll need perhaps a couple of blocks or a couple of blankets stacked on top of each other to support your head. And the couple of blocks can be side by side and then a blanket on top of them, so there's room for your head to roll. And then take your head, your shoulder blades and your back of your sacrum in line as if they're all lined up against a wall. So generally the head needs to be further back than you might think. The knees are roughly in line with the hips and the ankles are in line with the knees. And knees and ankles are at a right angle. Your arms are straight ahead, so your wrists are in line with your shoulders and they're straight ahead, one on top of the other. So we're going to do Feldenkrais shoulder openers. But we'll start with a bit of knee sliding and the arm sliding. So slide your top knee forwards as you slide the top hand forwards. And then slide them both back. And it can be a fairly small movement, especially if you've got something going on like a sciatica or sacroiliac pain or anything like that. You want to go very slowly here and take it easy as we go further into the twisting. So only do what feels good for you. So sliding forwards, paying attention to how things feel, and sliding backwards, paying attention to how things feel. And by all means, if you do have sciatica or something going on with your back, then you can spend more time doing this. But if you'd like to progress to the bit more movement in your arms, then you can slide the top hand forwards and the knee will slide with it, and then the top hand back towards your wrist, towards your inner elbow, and then towards your shoulder, and then slide forwards again. So leisurely, we're coming into the twist slowly, sliding forwards, reaching beyond the fingertips, and then sliding back through the arm, maybe onto the collarbone now, and starting to feel that twist in your rib cage. And then sliding back again. So each time you slide, you're moving a little bit more. Feeling that turning in your rib cage as you slide perhaps towards the opposite shoulder with your hand. Maybe the elbow reaches back and the head rolls. And then if it feels comfortable in your back, you can reach the elbow back and roll the head, roll the rib cage and reach the arm out. Now, if your back starts to get a little bit tweaky, then you need to think about drawing in and up through the pelvic floor. Energize that lengthening through the spine as you continue the movement. And if that doesn't take the tweak out of your back, then do less. But if it feels perfectly comfortable, you can really get into opening out and twisting. The top knee might lift a little bit, and that's perfectly fine. Another thing you can do is pop a blanket in between your knees, and that can make it more comfortable for your back. Good. So main thing is that you're enjoying the movement and feeling the texture of the clothes underneath and the skin underneath your palm of your hand, and it's really just moving the hand and seeing how the rest of the body follows along. Remember, the elbow stays in line with your shoulders. It kind of reaches up towards the ceiling and then back. Beautiful. Lovely work. And then when you finish the one that you're currently on, take your time to do that. You can make your way to coming to the other side. Actually, do have a little rest before you come to the other side. So rest on your side and breathe there. And then when you're ready, come to the other side. Good, so lining up again, just as you did on the other side, head in line with shoulders, and start line with the sacrum, knees in front of your hips, ankles in line with your knees. And you know what you're doing now, so sliding the knees forwards and the hand forwards, small movements, checking in with your back, with your hips, feeling how that feels for you too. It's a rolling of the rib cage and the pelvis forwards and a rolling of the rib cage and the pelvis back. Just tuning in to the subtle small movements and seeing how your body's working with those. And again, you can carry on with these subtle small movements for longer if you wish. If you want to come into more of a big movement, then you're sliding your top hand forwards, beyond the fingertips, and then sliding back onto the wrist, the inner arm, the elbow, the shoulder, and then sliding forwards again. So we're in no rush. And it's really good to kind of cultivate this leisurely attitude towards doing this posture. Just really leisurely, no fast movements, no jerky movements, very slow, so you can really contemplate how things feel as you move. Each time you go backwards, you're going a bit further along the collarbone. Each time you roll, remember that your rib cage wants to roll as well, and your skull wants to roll as well, and you'll get the maximum movement if you make sure that your thoracic vertebrae are doing that twisting movement. That's what they're designed for. And you might find that you're reaching the elbow backwards, and see if you can look at the elbow, see if you can look at the arm and unfold the arm if it's comfortable, no need to if it's not. Just feel how the breath can move into that area of your ribcage that's reaching out backwards, that's rolling backwards. Really enjoy that space, enjoy the openness, enjoy the increased freedom. Wonderful. Taking your time to finish the one that you're on. Taking your time to have a bit of a rest there. And then when you're ready to, coming back to lying on your left side. So it's very similar to how we were lying before, in that the head, shoulder blades and pelvis are all lined up against that imaginary wall, but this time your heels are further back, so your heels are in line with your hips, ankles in line with hips. And instead of doing the sliding forwards and back, we're doing circles. So we're coming into a pose called windmills, which is a somatic, Hanna somatic pose. So you're reaching your arms kind of in a backstroke, so you're taking the top arm and sliding it up and back in a circle, like a backstroke, up over your head and back, and all the way down to your hip, and then forward, so you do complete the circle. Now, if you find that the circle's not comfortable as you reach your arm back, you can bring your fingertips to your shoulder and simply reach the elbow back. But if it feels delicious and nice, then definitely reach the whole arm back. It might trail on the floor, it might hover in the air, just whatever feels comfortable for you. Checking in with your back muscles and making sure that your back feels really comfortable doing this. And if it doesn't, you want to draw in and up through the pelvic floor and lengthen through the whole of the spine. So support your lower back using your abdominal muscles, particularly as you take the arm back. So do a few more, really leisurely, really slow, but really feel the opening and the space that you can breathe into. Feel the rolling of your rib cage and your skull. And enjoy the movement. That's the main thing. It's like you're creating an art or a dance. Okay, and when you finish the circle that you're on, then straightening the top leg. So top leg the heel in line with the ankle still, and then you're hovering a little bit off so that your knee and your heel are in line with your hips. It's not very high lift, it's very minuscule. And then you're swinging the leg a little bit forwards, but then being very interested in swinging the leg back, squeezing that buttock muscle, that right buttock muscle. Then swinging forwards just a little way, not as far as your thigh. And then swinging back, seeing how far can you reach back? How can you squeeze around that sit bone to activate the glute to extend your hip? And feel the lovely opening in the front of the hip as you take your leg back. So much more interested in bringing the leg back, because we usually got the leg forwards because we're usually sitting. So can we extend the hip and create space in the hip and life in that glute? Now you can rest here with the top leg, or you can continue to work just with the leg, or we can come to do the two together. So if you want to do the two together, then start to move in the arm, the top arm, back into those backstroke circles, remembering to roll in your rib cage and your skull and making those big, wide, comfortable, expressive circles, making it work for you, supporting with pelvic floor and abdomen if you need to. And then in your own time, bringing the leg into it. So as the arm goes back, the leg goes forwards. And as the arm crosses your leg and is in front of you, the leg goes back. Yeah, so you're kind of balancing the weight of your arm and your leg as your top leg goes forwards, your arm goes back. And as your arm comes forwards, the leg goes back. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just kind of play around with it, make it feel comfortable and joyful. That's the main thing. It doesn't have to be perfect at all. You just kind of connect with the movement in your mind and feel how you're radiating outwards from your belly into your foot and into your hand, through the arm, through the leg, connected into the center, into your dantian. That's the most important thing as well. Enjoying and connecting to your center. Good, and feeling comfortable. Okay, and then come to resting. And then when you're ready, come to lying on your other side. So as we established already, the head perhaps a little bit further back than you might think. So there's a lovely straight feeling in your spine, as if it's lined up against a wall. And the heels in line with the hips, rather than being in line with the knees, they're in line with the hips. And start with your arms, so sweeping that arm back, noticing if there are any differences in the way this arm moves, in the way the shoulder moves. And circling and feeling and remembering, okay, if it doesn't feel comfortable going back, then you might need to roll in your head and your rib cage a little bit more. And if it still doesn't feel comfortable, you might need to bend the arm and take the fingertips to the shoulder as you go back. You can straighten the arm as you come forwards. And you might need to support using that drawing in of the pelvic floor and the abdominal muscles if your back feels uncomfortable as your arm goes back, as you twist in the rib cage and the skull. Good, enjoying the movement, enjoying the creation of your movement. And feeling the space, feeling the openness. Good, and then you can rest there and come to the leg. Top leg straightens. It floats up a tiny bit, so it's in line with the knee, in line with the hip, and the ankle in line with the hip. And then once again swinging forwards, but not that much, not as far forwards as your bottom thigh, and then squeezing back, activating that glute max muscle to extend in the hip joint, to open in the front hip crease, and squeeze that muscle to bring the leg back. And you're swinging forwards and backwards, just kind of recalling the swinging of your legs in walking, and how when your leg is behind you, your glute muscle needs to be switched on. And that's what we're tuning into here, is that swing of the walking gait. Really feel that glute, super important. Might be different on this side. Often we can have a slightly lazier left glute, so tuning in there. And by all means, you can stay with working with your leg on its own. That can be very, very beneficial. But if you'd like to do the two together, then rest the leg now and start to circle backwards in the top arm again, re-establishing that roll in the rib cage and the skull, that drawing in and up of the pelvic floor and engaging of the abdominal muscles, and that feeling of joy, just that feeling of expansiveness and openness and expressiveness. And then you can bring the leg into the movement. So as the arm circles back, the leg goes forwards. And as the arm comes into that circle in front of you, the leg goes back. And your brain is interested in the arm when it goes back. And your brain is interested in the leg when it goes back. Because those are the unusual movements, the ones that we need to bring more into our movement patterns. Really enjoy. If it feels good, carry on. If it doesn't, then go back to just working with the leg on its own. Or the arm on its own if it's your shoulder that needs freeing up. And remember, you can always bend the elbow as you reach backwards. So you can bring your fingertips to your shoulders, and might create more opening for your chest and less strain on your arm. So be aware of that. Beautiful. Just feel that radiating from your center, that windmilling feeling of extending from the dantian, behind and below your navel. Beautiful. And then when you finish the one that you're on, then coming to resting on your back, take everything out from underneath your head. So no blocks underneath your head. Lying on your back for bridge pose. And just walking your heels so they're underneath the knees roughly, and walking your shoulder blades in, and perhaps lifting your head with your clasped hands and checking that you're pretty much in alignment with your feet, your knees, your hips, your shoulders, and your spine. And then you can start with your elbows at a right angle, fingers pointing straight up, palms facing each other. Walk those elbows quite close into your ribs. And press down through the heels, press down through the elbows, squeeze the buttock muscles and lift the hips up as high as feels nice for you. Make sure you're equally squeezing both buttock muscles and that your sacroiliacs feel comfortable. And pressing into your feet a little bit more, you might find a bit more length in your neck, but keep that comfy and relaxed, not too much pushing. Breathe up into your chest, breathe up into your rib cage. Feel that breath filling up, and the breath doesn't move into the belly. Belly stays still. Knees reach forwards if it's comfortable for your knees to do so. And then you can lift the heels if you know it's okay for you, you're not going to get cramp, and then roll down from the top of the spine all the way down to the sacrum, top of the sacrum, middle of the sacrum, bottom of the sacrum. And then heels land. And we'll come up again. You may like to repeat the same arm movements with the elbows tucked in towards your rib cage, or you may like to straighten the arms, palms still face each other, they're still in by the rib cage, little fingers are down, and you're pressing the whole outer edge of the arm, back of the arm, down, pressing into the heels, squeeze the buttock muscles and lift up again. Reach the knees forwards. Remember to press down through the inner balls of the feet. The big toes are down. Don't let them peel up. And the knees are pointing straight forwards, not reaching in or out. And then once again, lift the heels and roll down, vertebra by vertebra by vertebra. Wonderful. And then we might do bridge in a different way by turning the palms to face downwards, either side of you, and then reaching the arms up, behind your head, so that the backs of the arms are on the floor, the backs of the hands are on the floor, backs of the fingers are on the floor. And they might not be on the floor, they might be hovering a bit, and that's okay. So squeezing the buttock muscles and lifting the hips up. You might walk the shoulder blades a bit in towards your spine once you're up there. You'll feel that the hands and the arms kind of press more clearly into the floor, and feel that. Push them a little bit into the floor in a comfortable way. And then lift the heels and roll down vertebra by vertebra, keeping the arms where they are. Feel that lengthening in the side waist. And then once you've landed, bring the arms down by your sides. And if you really, really want to, then you can bring your knees in and have a little hug and have a little rock after the back bend. It can be settling for your sacroiliac joints to do that. And then when you're ready to come into cobbler pose, so the feet together, knees out to the sides, I would strongly recommend having support here for your knees, a bolster underneath them or blocks underneath them. And palms are facing up, perhaps something underneath your head. Take your time to feel comfortable here. And really enjoying the feeling of space that this posture brings. It softly and very passively opens the spaces in our hips, in our spine, in our shoulders, in our chest, a little bit in the lower abdomen and the pelvis as well, in the hips. And by opening those spaces in such a passive way, we can focus on creating more energy in these places. The prana moves there, to the hips, to the pelvis, to the chest, to the shoulders, to the spine. So by resting and noticing and breathing and allowing, you're really bringing this positive life force energy into where it's most needed. I mean, most of us have tight hips. Most of us have tightness somewhere in our shoulders, in our neck, in our spine. So this is a beautiful treat, just absorbing that prana wherever it's needed. Just passively resting as the prana moves, creates space and ease. And you might feel little releases happening as you continue to rest and breathe. So this is a very passive pose, so you're watching. Your mind is very intent, it's very focused on your body and your breath. And that's how you get the most from this pose. Noticing those little releases, those little unwindings, unfoldings. It's like we're kind of airing out all the nooks and crannies of our body, having a bit of a spring clean, airing away the cobwebs of tightness and gripping and tension, and allowing them to release and open in the winds of the prana. They're also called winds, the prana vayus. Vayu means wind. So just allowing those feelings of energy, bathing, relaxing, softening, just watching that process and enjoying that process. And really allowing that process, getting out of the way. Lovely work. Okay, and then when you're ready to, you can engage abdominal muscles and draw those knees in towards each other. And you might draw the knees in towards your chest and have a little rock, have a little circle. Just move in any way that feels nice to feel the release and the relaxation of the back of the body. And then coming into Shavasana and taking any posture that feels comfortable for you, whether it's over a bolster, over the sofa, whether your knees are bent and resting against each other, or whatever feels nice. And one last visual check just to see that you're centered around your spine. And then lowering the head and letting go. Letting go completely now. So now the prana is moving in a more homogenized way, a more evenly distributed way. So it's not only in the hips and the spine and the chest, we want to feel it there, but it's also more able to move down into the legs and the feet, into the belly, and into the arms and the hands, and into the head and the neck and the whole of the face. So watching how that process happens, and once again, keeping your attention in the energy body, not in your mental body, and even not so much in your physical body. You're feeling maybe how your physical body responds to the energy body, but stay with the feeling of the breath and the feeling of flow through your limbs, through your arms, through your legs, through your spine, maybe even in your organs, in your brain, the sensory organs of your eyes and your ears. See if you can encourage that prana to move into your jaw, the hinges of the upper and the lower jaws, and into your facial muscles and in and around your brain. And if you feel any part of your body is kind of in need of some extra TLC, you can guide the prana there, guide the feeling of energy flow there. We can really become our own healers in this way. It just is a question of time that we spend breathing and focusing, staying in this awareness of the energy body. Not being distracted by the mind. And obviously that happens. So if you feel the mind coming in, then having an intention to come back to the experience of breathing in the here and now. The experience of energy flowing in the body in this present moment. And really delight in it. It's enjoyable. Why would you not want to do this? Why would you not want to be here and be now in this present moment, feeling your breath, feeling your body's energy? So nourishing. And then checking in with how your body feels. Checking in with the physical body, how that feels. Is there any still kind of parts of the body that are talking to you? And that's okay if there are. Just sending your loving attention there, breathing with it, and knowing that the body has its own agenda, it has its own time scale, and it will unwind things, if given the space and time, in its own time. And then checking into your kind of emotional feelings in your body, and they lie along the spine. Are there any emotional feelings in your heart, in your solar plexus, in your belly, in your throat? Sensing how the emotional body is. And again, accepting things for how they are. How we are right now is absolutely perfect. And with that thought, hold that thought. You can start to connect to your surroundings and make little movements in your fingers, in your toes, maybe rolling in the head, maybe hugging the knees in or stretching the legs out, whatever feels good to you. And coming to lying on your side in your own time. Namaste.